We will move into the next phase of the program, which is from Bapiraju Nanduri. And I was so impressed speaking to him. He is a multi-talented professional. In spite of being a highly technology person who is a leader in cloud and IBM, he has so many things that he is pursuing as passion. And added to this is sessions like this. I've also seen, Bapiraju, you didn't mention, but I've also seen that you are a certified speaker from IBM. So there are so many feathers in his cap, few of which are he's writing a book currently, and he composes music. I do not know many people whose both left and right brains work so very well. So it has been wonderful talking to you, Mr. Bapiraju. And I would like you to help us all, myself and all the students, to be able to create such all-round personality, apart from just telling us about the cloud, multi-hybrid cloud, and what are the different certifications, trainings. Apart from all these things, I also request you to help us develop such 360 degrees of pursuing different passions. I also want to tell you that he has worked in number of startups, and he's been that first person who was first, second, third, fourth person who has been hired in startups. So that if possible for you, you also join startup, because startup gives you that enriching experience, that those people become leaders, because so many things, as you've seen in the entrepreneurship list, right? You have to know so many things. It's not just programming. You also become responsible of the product that you are developing. So in big organizations where I worked, right, in Wipro or something, I used to code. Somebody used to look into the database. Somebody else is database administrator. If I don't get internet, somebody else is there. If I have to travel to US, somebody is booking the tickets. So there will be total institutional support if you are if you are working in a corporate. But in a startup, you are everything. I am the chief sweeping officer sometimes, if it is required. So it is like you have to do everything on your own, and that gives you immense leadership and immense learning. So if you get a chance, and that you will get through our Center of Excellence platform, lot of startups are there, and startups offer really high, because they choose really very good people. They offer really high, and aim for those jobs, 8 to 20 lakhs kinds of jobs. So I would welcome now Bapiraju to take the stage, and thank you so much for agreeing to speak to the students. The stage is yours. Take it forward from here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anuradha. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, Bapiraju, we are able to hear you.
Excellent. Thank you. Thanks for giving me this platform to interact with your students. Namaste, good afternoon, everyone. We've seen great sessions in this conclave. I've attended both the sessions yesterday, and then Uma's session before me was mind-blowing. I mean, she has given great tips and techniques on how to get started on entrepreneurship and things like that. So I will try to build upon that and then see how you can use some of the emerging technologies to get started, either in work for someone else or work for yourself, right? So let me see if I can share my screen. So I'm going to talk about cloud computing, emerging technologies, and especially the red hot trend right now that is hybrid multi-cloud. So this is going to be a little technical topic. So I would, there's quite some content that we will have to go through, and I will be as quick as possible. At the same time, because it's a lot of students, I would like to give them a lot of stories, several real world examples while going through the technical concepts. Try to make it easy for folks to understand. Right? So I've been working in the cloud computing for almost a decade now. I'll be talking about some emerging trends in the cloud computing, and also let's talk about some of the service models and the delivery models and all that. Let's dive in. Right? So what's the hype about cloud? Let's set some context. today in the IT industry, everybody is talking about cloud. I mean, it has been the case for the last several years. It's really become the buzzword. We may not realize the great impact that we have been going through with the cloud, but let me start with a story how cloud computing has really impacted my personal life. I'm an avid traveler. I used to travel across the world and also in India to several places. And I'm an amateur photographer too. And then I used to take a lot of pictures, right? And any place that I used to go to, I would spend a day taking at least 500 to 1,000 pictures with my Canon D70 DSLR, and I would put all of them in a hard drive after I come back home, and then continue with my pictures. Right after the number of pictures have reached to about 100,000, it's the organization of all those pictures has really become very difficult, right? First of all, the risk of hardware failure is there. I mean, what if my 1 TB hard drive broke and it did not work? Then all my years of pictures are all gone. Or how do I find out that particular year's picture from that particular scene or function or event or things like that? It was very, very difficult. It was cumbersome, right? And then Google Photos changed it all for me. Now all my pictures are all in Google Photos. I've uploaded all of them there. Of course, they're all private. They're not shared. I can only share. I can share with people who I want to share those pictures and things like that. Now I enjoy various capabilities that Google Analytics offer. There's face recognition, there's geotagging, reminders, everything. Right? What's not to enjoy about Google Photos? So that's a real world practical solution that the cloud has provided us these days. What are some of the other examples? I mean, I said we've been using cloud in many ways today, and what are some of the other examples? Let's look at the other applications of cloud in our day-to-day life. All these are all on cloud, right from the Facebook to the Instagram to the LinkedIn to the Siri to the Netflix to Gmail to Office 365 to Twitter to YouTube to Google Drive to Box to Alexa to anything. Most of the things that we use, the technologies that we use today, whether they are web-based emails or social networking or online games, the list is endless. I mean, it's all that they're all on the cloud. Now, yeah, so what, right? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of hype about cloud, and then there's so many things that are there on the cloud. There's so many applications on the cloud. But what's in it for me as a student? I'm an engineering student, and then I'm learning a lot of technologies, and then I'm going to get a job in a few years. But then, how does this really? Why should I care about this or this presentation, right? And why should I spend a precious hour on a Sunday afternoon on learning about cloud? And that's why. Let's get some perspective. So there's if you look at the cloud market today, there are 80% organizations that are expected to get to the cloud by 2025. Most of the enterprises are going to be on the cloud. 33% of the IT budget is already spent on cloud services. The 80% of the data centers are going to run 94% of the workloads by 2021. The cloud market was just a $272 billion market just 2 years ago. And look at where it's heading to. It's heading to $623 billion by 2023. That's in a short span of 5 years. So it's 2.5 times in 5 years. What does that mean? If you are a student today taking taking engineering course and then trying to get into an IT industry in the next, let's say, 1 to 4 years, learning about emerging trends in cloud and picking up some skills in this area will give you a great leverage and a good head start in kickstarting your career. So with that, let's quickly look at some of the concepts that we are going to cover today, right? So we'll spend the next 30-40 minutes discussing about some of these aspects. We'll talk about cloud computing concepts, and then we'll refresh our basics there, and then we'll look at the service models, we'll look at the deployment models. Then we'll also spend some time on future of the cloud, the hybrid multi-cloud that I'm talking about, and also careers in cloud. Right? I mean, that's the most important point that I want to touch base on, not only the theory, but also the what are some of the specific things as students that you can do, where you can invest your time and money into, so that next couple of years you would skill yourself to you would upskill yourself to get ready for the market, right? And I'll take some questions. You ready? Cool. Let's look at some of the cloud computing concepts. And again, these are all technical aspects, and probably some of you engineering students already have gone through some of these things. So I will be I'll be explaining these things at a very high level, right? So what is cloud computing? That's the NIST definition of cloud computing. The National Institute of Standards and Technology is the definitive authority on cloud, and that's their definition. Let's split this into a couple of phrases so that we can understand this. So cloud computing is actually a model that enables ubiquitous, convenient, on-demand network access. So ubiquitous, that's available everywhere. Convenient, it should be very easy for me to access, and on-demand, whenever I want it, I should be able to access it. So enabling network access in those ways to what? To a shared pool of configurable computing resources. So we got a lot of computing resources. We got networks, we got servers, we got storage, we got applications, we got services. These are all computing resources. Now they should be configurable, meaning I should be able to configure them using software, and also they all should be pulled together. So if, for example, I have a lot of storage hard drives, I should be able to pull all of them together, and then I should be able to configure them, and then I should be able to use that shared pool of resources. And how? That can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort. If I wanted, for example, today I want an additional TB of storage, a terabyte of storage, I should be able to actually go request it and then get it in the next 2 minutes, right? So self-service and with minimal management effort and service provider intervention, right? So that's what actually the cloud means. In simple words, the real difference is who owns the infrastructure. I mean, I really like what Paul said. He's the CEO of VMware. Cloud is actually about how you do computing rather than where you do computing, right? So that's cloud. Who owns the infrastructure is the part of it, right? Now, if we quickly look at these characteristics of cloud, there are the 5 things that are important for cloud. There's on-demand self-service, as we talked about. If I want it now, I should be able to get it. It's on demand, and then I should be able to do it for myself, self-service. And then broad network access. I should have the network should be available for everyone to be able to access from anywhere. And then resource pooling. All these resources should be pulled together, and then I should be able to access the pool. Rapid elasticity. If I want to increase the number of available resources, I should be able to do that. We'll look at an example in just a minute. And measured service. We should be able to pay for what we have used, and for that, metering and measuring is very important. So they are the 5 characteristics of cloud. So let's look at a case study there. And this is 1-800-Flowers. 1-800-Flowers.com is one of the most popular bouquet sites to send flowers in the US. And then they are, one of the problems that they were facing is that during holiday season, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas, and holiday seasons, their servers were experiencing huge traffic, and millions of users coming there and placing orders. And they didn't want to invest into infrastructure because this demand was only for certain times, and they really did not want to invest much into capital to get the servers and things like that, right? So a cloud is a perfect solution for such problems. If we look at service models, there are 3 service models, right? I mean, there is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and then software as a service. So where you host really talks about the infrastructure as a service. where you build your applications is the platform as a service, and where you consume or your applications is the software as a service. We look at a brief intro about these aspects. I mean, these are the trends that you would see. There is a ton of innovation that has gone into IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So and they have evolved a lot over the several years, and then artificial intelligence is driving some of the growth areas in these domains. So let's briefly look at these areas. Right? If you look at the infrastructure as a service, the model, there are four building blocks. There's compute, storage, and network, and of course security. What's IaaS all about? IaaS is all about, if I'm a consumer, I'm provided with the provisioning capabilities. So which means I should be able to get a virtual machine if I want it and whenever I need it. And then I should be able to deploy and run the software as and when I need it. And then I should be able to control who has access to what, right? So that's a typical infrastructure as a service model. What are the benefits of the model? Pay as you go. You will only use, if you are using one server, you will pay for that server. If you are using, I don't know, 100 servers, you will pay for that servers. If you are using one server for 10 days and then 100 servers for 5 days, you will only pay accordingly. It's like our electricity bill. How much ever you use it, you pay for it, right? And then speed is amazing. It's very good. And then availability is at almost 24/7, 99.9999% availability is there. Then you can scale things. If you want additional storage, if you want additional compute power, you can scale effortlessly. And then performance is also better. If you want to look at a customer story there, a real world problem, Anthem is a leading healthcare benefit company in the US. They were serving more than 78,000 people, including 40 million within the family of the health plans. And they were facing a lot of challenges with their infrastructure. And then they wanted to digitize their infrastructures and then take all their solutions to the cloud. And when they did that, what is the benefit that they were able to get from it? 1 million customer issues were corrected via dynamic automation. Not a single human was involved in making decisions or resolving those issues for those customers. And that's a huge cost saving, isn't it? I mean, 85% of the high volume issues, they were all addressed without really human intervention. 25% of the reduction of number of high priority system incidents. I mean, their cloud story is a smash hit there. And they were able to not only save money, but also they were able to help their customers to get better experience. So that's infrastructure as a service. Let's quickly look at the PaaS. And by the way, in the infrastructure as a service, there is artificial intelligence today playing a huge role on bringing a lot of value to the enterprise AI. So that's a hot emerging trend in the infrastructure as a service. If you look at the platform as a service, then I mean, the four things that are there that define the platform as a service, right? So there's several business cases for the platform as a service. But before we get to the business cases, let's understand what's actually platform as a service. So consumers, if I'm a consumer, I'm provided with the capability to deploy the apps on cloud infrastructure. So there is cloud infrastructure, and I should be able to deploy my apps on it. And then I don't manage the cloud infrastructure. I don't want the headache of managing the cloud infrastructure. But I should have the control on the deployed applications and the configurations. I should know how to control them, and then I should have the ability to change things as I want. Now, the cloud provider should give me all abilities of all programming languages, the libraries, services, everything that I need, all the infrastructure that I need. The platform should be provided by them. I will build the applications, and then I will control who gets the access and things like that. There are a lot of business scenarios on this one, right? So API development, business analytics and intelligence, business process management, communications. There are a ton of business cases for a platform as a service model. What are the benefits of this model? The four benefits again, among many that come to our mind. faster time to market, less risk, adoption of a wider range of resources. There are a lot of resources that you would be able to adopt with lesser risk. And then scalability, obviously, and scalability doesn't come at a cost. It is actually easy and then comes at a cost-effective model, and also overall lower costs. There are several players in the platform as a service market. There's Microsoft Azure there. There's IBM Cloud, Salesforce platform. Then there is Google, GCP, Google Cloud, and of course Amazon Web Services. All these guys provide platform as a service delivery model. And if you look at a real world case study, let's talk about UBank. UBank is an Australian bank. They are the digital only bank. And they just have about 200 staff. All of the bank together has just under 200 people, and they didn't want to increase their headcount. But at the same time, they wanted to provide the best of the best solutions for their clients. And then what did they do? They used the cloud infrastructure platforms to create a robo chat. I mean, you can look at the chat there. You'll see that this robo chat is actually the first chat bot, and it's an AI augmented chat bot. It helps customers with their online home applications. And then the typical standard questions that people would have about their home loan applications and things like that, this AI chatbot can answer most of them. And at any point, they would be able to switch to a human for intervention and all that. And then how did this help? Now, this chatbot, the chatbot is able to deliver answers with almost 85% confidence. And as a result, it's almost like a human being answering the questions, isn't it? So the human advisors today are actually handling more complex questions because the chatbots have taken answering more of these simple questions, right? So that's one of the examples of the platform as a service. Now let's look at this software as a service. Now the three aspects that define the software as a service: providers, applications run on the cloud infrastructure. These apps are accessible for me on either internet connection, on thick or thin clients on the internet connection, or via APIs. And the consumer doesn't manage. If I'm the consumer, I don't manage or control anything underlying. Everything is provided for me. I will just use the software as a service, and then I'll just pay for what I use. What are the benefits of it? It's a subscription model. All of us are aware of the subscription models now. You will only pay for what you use. There's absolutely no management required. They're available 24/7. They're scalable. Their security is top notch in these environments. And then there are a lot of providers in this field. I mean, Oracle Cloud is one of them. Google G Suite is one of the most popular ones that is offered as on the software as a service platform. Office 365, IBM Cloud, SAP HANA, Salesforce, Amazon Web Services. There are a lot of players, with IBM playing a critical role, actually a leadership role in the SaaS field. Right? If you were to look at a case study of the Transport for London, these are the guys actually who manage 31 million journeys across the network in a single day. And they wanted to create a better experience for their customers. And then what did they do? They used this model, software as a service model, and then they moved their workloads to the cloud. And how did that help them? It has helped them to reduce over 20% the duration of a telephone inquiry for customers. So it has created a better user experience for their customers, and managing 31 million journeys in a day is a huge task, isn't it? So and you're able to cut down 20% of that processing time. That's a lot of saving for not only cost savings for the company, but also creating delightful customer experience for their customers, right? So if you were to look at all these models in one slide, right, at a 10,000 feet level, On the left, you will see on-premises model, where you have everything that is the traditional IT that we call. You control every single thing in those boxes. You control from the networking to the storage to the servers to the virtualization to the OS to the middleware to the runtime to the data to application. You manage the entire thing. If you were to manage only virtualization, server storage, and networking, then that's and those I mean, if those things are provided by the cloud providers, and then you're managing only applications, data, runtime, middleware, and operating system, everything below the operating system is all provided to you by the operators, then that's a infrastructure as a service. If you don't even care about those things, you're only looking at applications and data, then that's like platform as a service. If all of those things are managed by those cloud providers and you don't really worry about those things, people just come customize those things and then give it to you, and then you just operate those things, then that's software as a service, right? Now let's look at the deployment models, and this is where again, as I said, a lot of innovation has happened in the last several years, and you will see artificial intelligence playing a greater role in these areas too. There are public clouds, and the cloud infrastructure is provisioned for open use by the general public. And the most common cloud that you see out there, Amazon Web Services is the most common example there. It may be owned, managed, and operated by a business or an academic or government organization, or a combination of all of those. Uh, Whoever is providing this service, actually the infrastructure sits on their premises, right? And there are a lot of public cloud providers today. There is Amazon is the market leader. IBM Cloud has a significant presence there. Microsoft Azure is a key player there. Then you got Oracle Cloud, and then GCP, Google Cloud Platform as well. Now, if you look at the private cloud, we looked at the public cloud. The next model is the private cloud. It's provisioned exclusively for use by a single organization. For example, you run a large organization. You got finance, you got operations, you got manufacturing, you got R&D, you got development, you got all these business units. Now, everybody requires a computer, and then everybody requires processing, and everybody requires all the IT systems that are required to manage their departments. And then you create a private cloud exclusive for your entire organization. It is owned, managed, and operated by your organization or a third party. I mean, there could be people like NetApp or Cisco or Dell EMC or VMware who could be providing those solutions. And then there could be third parties who are running these things. Again, IBM Cloud plays a major role in the private cloud. Actually, they are the market leader in the private cloud. And they will exist. These private clouds will exist either on or off premises, right? Now, there are several problems with these models. I mean, although they're hugely successful, the businesses are finding several problems with these models in the last couple of years. And what are some of the problems that we see there? There's vendor lock-in. One of the largest problems that we've seen in these markets, meaning you sign up for a vendor, you sign up for Amazon, for example, then you are with Amazon for a foreseeable future. And if you want to switch in, there are a lot of terms and conditions, and then you can switch to the other vendors, but then it's a difficult thing. You're locked with that vendor. And then there's performance issues. If there are performance issues, there is you really don't know whether the platform is ideal for you, for your workloads to run at the optimal performance or not. And then compliance issues. We have seen GDPR issues in the last year about data privacy and other things. So there are issues about compliance. And then resilience, availability. I mean, look at what happened with Cloudflare in Cloudflare in June. There was an outage for for about 23 minutes, and there was a joke that they took half of the internet down. There were a ton of businesses that were running on Cloudflare, Patreon, Deliverco, GitLab, Zendesk, Medium. There are a ton of businesses that were running on it, and then that outage has actually costed. There is an estimate that says that outage has costed them millions of dollars. Right? Then what's the future of cloud then? I mean, if there are those challenges, what's the future of cloud? That's where the hybrid multi-cloud comes in. What's a hybrid multi-cloud? It's a composition of two or more distinct cloud. There's a public cloud, there's a private cloud, and there is traditional IT that I have already invested in and things like that. Now I want to bring all of them together. They're all unique entities, but then they're bounded by the standardized proprietary technology. Now I want to actually enable data and application portability from here to here to here. For example, um, I have I have my finance application. All my finance data is running in my on-premise boxes. It's all in my building, right? I don't want anybody that data to go out of my building, and I'm storing all of that data in my servers in my building. But then I run my payroll processing on Amazon Cloud, and then I go to HR and SAP HANA workloads on IBM Cloud, and then I have a manufacturing thing on something else, and then I have something else on the Microsoft Azure. Right now, uh, what if I want one single pane, one single unified approach to handle all of these things which are underlying, which are provided by different multiple providers? That's exactly the hybrid multi-cloud. I mean, there is a it's the red hot technology today. You will see very few people playing in this kind of in this domain because it's extremely complex. uh, Playing with one provider itself is difficult in cloud, and now you're talking about bringing in all the various providers and then making this happen for you. It's definitely a very complex one, right? That's why it's the emerging trend now. What are some of the benefits there? You would be able to manage hybrid and multi-cloud, multiple different clouds. There is single source visibility. As I said, you would be able to see everything that you need from one single source. In one screen, you should be able to see all the information that you need from all these providers. You would be able to do it, monitor application level management. Then AI ops is another emerging trend there. Artificial intelligence enabled ops operations and automation that is being brought in by AI ops is a huge big field there, and that is possible with hybrid multi-cloud. You can automate the security as well there. There are a lot of benefits. That's why the enterprises are actually warming up to the idea. And if you were to look at the industry, right, 94% of the enterprises are already using a mix of cloud models. 67% of the enterprises are using one or more public cloud provider already, which means they're already in a multi-cloud environment. But then there are several concerns about it. I mean, they're concerned with connectivity between multiple clouds. They're concerned, 82% of the people are concerned about that. And then 73% are concerned with the movement between multiple clouds. What if I have this data here, I want to move this data from here to this, from Amazon to IBM. I want to move something from Microsoft Azure to IBM. How do I do that? And concerned about consistency of management. Is Amazon doing the right things the way that Azure is doing the things, the way that IBM is doing the things the way? Right? I mean, is there consistency in managing all these things? I mean, that about 67% of the respondents to a survey said they're really concerned about that. Right? If you were to look at some of the case studies, Hyundai is a household name here. There was a 5.8 magnitude earthquake in 2016 in Korea. And that's when they woke up to the harsh reality of having a disaster recovery system. And their backup center was located near their headquarters in Ulsan City, Korea. Now, what they've done is, and they've already invested a lot into their IT infrastructure and all that. So what they have done is utilize the concept of the hybrid multi-cloud, and then they've put some of their implemented a disaster recovery solution on a hybrid multi-cloud. Another example is American Airlines, and this is an example in the domain of extending the legacy. I mean, they have American Airlines has already invested millions and millions of dollars over several years into their infrastructure. They have several hundreds of thousands of servers, storage networks, and all those things. They already have that infrastructure. Now they want to modernize their infrastructure, and they want to modernize their core reservation systems. And they're able to do this. They didn't want to throw away whatever they have already invested, so they wanted to improve it by moving to the hybrid multi-cloud model. So they're able to take the benefit, they're able to take the advantage of the ROI on their existing infrastructure as well as the new modernization, right? So they are some of the hot trends in the cloud. I mean, we looked at the IaaS, we looked at the PaaS, we looked at the SaaS, the software as a service. Then we looked at the public cloud and private cloud, and then hybrid cloud and hybrid multi-cloud. So these are the areas which are really emerging, and then which are the hot areas in cloud computing today. Now, let's spend some time on careers in cloud, and what would be some of the things that are interesting things for you if somebody were to build their career in cloud. What are some of those aspects that they want to focus on, right? What are some of the kind of jobs that are there in the cloud market today? There's software engineers, DevOps engineers, full stack engineers, cloud engineers, data engineers. Then there is demand for system engineers, data scientists, system administrators, front-end and back-end developers, and many more. I mean, there are a ton of jobs. There are hundreds and hundreds of jobs that are there in the cloud domains. Which are the functions that these jobs are in? There are all these jobs in programming, cloud platforms, business management, DevOps, cloud administration, architecture and design, user experience, security, automation. There are a number of functions that are there that these jobs are in. And what are some of the skills that you will have to pick up? Python, Perl, Ruby, Docker, Chef, Puppet, Ansible, Java, Linux. There are a ton of these technologies, but these are some of the hot skills that are required to build your cloud computing career. If you were to look at the job sites, there is a research that said job searches related to cloud has rose 108% in the last 3 years. That means people are searching for the cloud careers on the job sites, right? Now, who are some of the key players? There's IBM Cloud, Amazon AWS, Microsoft Azure. Then you got Google Cloud, Alibaba, Oracle Cloud, VMware, Salesforce, SAP, Cisco, and a ton of startups. I mean, this field is full of startups. So these are the enterprise client players that I talked about, and there are a lot of startups who actually build the whole ecosystem, a very, very powerful ecosystems, right? And what are some of the certifications that you can do that will help you grow your career here? AWS, each of these things have at least a dozen or more certifications. I mean, there are certifications for developers, there are certifications for DevOps, there are certifications for architects, designers, and so on and so forth. So on Amazon, AWS, there are several certifications. IBM Cloud, there are several certifications. Then Microsoft runs them, Cisco, Google, VMware, Comp, TIA. Then DevOps, there are certifications on cybersecurity. And also there are business certifications like ITIL, TOGAF, and so on and so forth. And also on Alibaba Cloud, you have certifications. You can pick your field, and then you can go finish those certifications, right? And how do you learn these skills? And then what are the courses that you could enroll into? And then how do you pick up these skills? There are a lot of free courses out there, and companies like IBM actually offer free badges programs where you can actually go enroll for courses and learn by yourself. And these are all self-learning free courses. Apart from that, you also have facilities provided by the folks like BlackBuck, right? I mean, they're in-person training from reputed institutions. And that's a great way to pick up these technologies. Then you got online courses like Udemy, Coursera, MOOC, the massive online courses, Simply Learn, YouTube, and many more. I mean, for somebody who would like to learn today, there are a ton of avenues for people to pick up their skills, right? So, I mean, there is a statistic that I've put up there. Employers' interest in the cloud skills has rose 33%, which means employers are also looking at cloud skills, and it's rising fast. And why is it rising? Remember the first slide that we talked about? $620 billion market in the next 2-3 years, and that means a lot of jobs. Cloud computing is raining jobs there, right? So that's what will bring us to the end of this session on my topic. We've covered the cloud computing basics. We looked at the service models. We looked at the deployment models. We looked at the future of cloud, and then we looked at the careers in cloud. Now, I mean, each of these topics are worth a semester of education, right? I mean, they're so deep that you would spend easily several hours on each of these topics. Each bullet there, you could easily spend a day to learn on just covering the concepts on each of these things, right? So these are the concepts in a nutshell, and they are the career opportunities that we have. I hope this session was useful for you, and all the best. I'll stay tuned for answering a couple of questions if you have any. Back to you, Anuradha.
Thank you so much, Bapiraju. And so that was a detailed information and session on various aspects of cloud. The question is, like, if the students want to learn a little bit on their own, what are the free sources that are available to do something and practice? So not the learning platforms, but something to do on their own and practice. What are the use cases that they can practice and see?
All the major players offer free accounts for people to go access cloud and their solutions. For example, if you were to go to IBM, you can actually register and then get yourself an IBM cloud, and then you can start playing with it. And then, especially if you are interested in cloud and AI, artificial intelligence, you can actually go to the IBM Watson solutions and then build chatbots, and then look at several live real world problems that you want to solve. And then there are several hackathons that are happening. You can pick up all those use cases and then start, you can go to Microsoft, get a free account, go to Amazon, get a free account, and then start running those things for yourself. On playing with some of these things, and especially IBM has student programs as well, and as well as the startup programs. They actually encourage students and startups by providing their solutions to play with those solutions for some time before they actually go invest in more time and money into those things. And learning wise, upskilling, there are any number of opportunities that are there. I mean, you go to any of these vendor sites, or you go to the badges and free courses that are available. MOOC is one of the platforms that has really transformed learning. I mean, there are Stanford and very, very reputed institutions also offer free courses for people to pick up and learn. I would also recommend in-person training. I mean, if from reputed institutions, if there are people who are experts, if they are able to get a one-on-one coaching, nothing like it. I mean, it's a combination of all of these things, right?
Yeah, understood. So BlackBuck provides in-person training actually for the students.
Right.
I mean, like, students are not these experienced professionals or seasoned professionals. So some kind of basic foundation in some technologies will enable professionals to learn on themselves. So that's the reason our platform provides in person. And the person who teaches this, yesterday we had a fantastic session from Prasanna. So he's also a cloud leader in IBM, cloud migration leader in IBM, and he will be teaching students. Now, all our professors or teachers are people who are from the industry with a passion to share their knowledge to students. So yeah, one of this is the cloud technology, because people have started working a lot from home and the students are learning from home. Cloud has really, as you said, the searches for job in cloud has improved so much. So because of the reason that we are all working from home and learning from home, this is the reason why cloud has picked up so much. In similar way, that's how we have chosen our technologies where the student can become expert. Even cybersecurity has become more important because we're all working from different places now. So
That's
these
correct.
all we are helping students, and I will take some guidance from you for including multi-cloud in our syllabus for the students to learn multi-cloud. That seems to be very the hybrid one. So that seems to be very interesting and a new area with respect to the cloud. So thank you
Sure.
very much, Bapi Raju. Thanks for spending your time on a holiday, that too on Sunday, for explaining to the students and sharing your views. On behalf of all the students, thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure. All the best.